I'm afraid, Dave. Dave. My mind is going. I can feel it. My mind is going. There is no question about it. I'm afraid.
Welcome to a very special edition of Space Action Podcast, a division of Space Action Heroes, a webcomic you can find at spaceactionheroes.com. This week, we take a silver anniversary retrospective look back on this seminal Stanley Kubrick classic, 2001, A Space Odyssey. I am one of your hosts, Deniso Winchama.
Oh, I'm Chris Carson.
I honestly just did that part so you'd stop.
You loved it.
It worked.
It worked. Hello, guys. We're talking about 2001.
Remember, what was your first experience watching this movie?
I don't remember.
Really?
I saw it so young that it's like Star Wars or something where I can't pinpoint my first viewing of it.
I have a very vivid memory.
Yeah, okay.
My sister was taking a theology or philosophy class, I believe. She must have been, let me do the math. If I was like 8 or 10, she would have been like 16. No, she was already in university.
Okay.
Hey, it's not relevant. We watched it. I was a big film nerd kid. Like, I watched a lot of movies I really shouldn't have at an early age. It just made me love cinema. Like, I early on.
And turned you into the serial killer you are today.
What did I say?
Sorry.
God.
Please don't kill me.
Damn it.
Please don't.
The pile is getting high, my friend.
I know, I can smell it coming up through the floorboards.
Davey can only eat so much in one day. I remember, like, at an early age, there was a certain things I identified with. So my sister was like, he likes film, he likes Star Wars, he'll love this.
All right. Even though it's kind of the polar opposite of Star Wars.
So we watch it, and I'm visually in love.
Right.
Soundtrack in love, but stylistically bored as fuck, and I have no idea what's going on. I think we had to pause it, like, the intermission. We took a pizza break and everything. Because
what's happening?
No idea what's going on. Why is there a baby in space?
Right.
Why is that the end of the movie?
Unfortunately answered in these
the
sequel books,
which I haven't read.
The movie and sequel books are atrocious. What they do. I'll get into that.
We go outside, and I remember this so vividly. We used to have this big old birch tree underneath in front of my parents' house. Mm-hmm. So we sat underneath that thing on the porch, and she just deconstructed the whole thing for me.
Nice.
Like, you see, like, the monolith represents advancements in technology and intellect.
From some sort of third party.
From a weird third party. They're the ones observing Dave Bowen at the end of the movie.
Yep.
They're the ones that have challenged, and, like, once they see that he can defeat technology, you see it's all about innovation and, like...
And evolution, they were. It was like the apes fighting each other, except it was a computer versus a human.
Exactly.
Human won.
Exactly. Like, once
the
they had that...
sequel ruins that.
That technological advancement's what put them over the edge, blah, blah, blah. And then...
But then they had to fight the advancement to stay on top. I love it.
It's so good. And at the very end of the movie, it ends with him conquering technology and becoming the Star Child.
Becomes a god.
And I was like, what? That's in... Can we watch it again?
Yeah.
Like, where was that in there?
Basically, like, his transition to the fourth or fifth dimension beyond our recognition of reality.
There's a great scene. You ever watch Mission Hill?
No.
There was a TV show, I think it was by the creators of The Simpsons back in the 90s, about a bunch of 20, 30-somethings living in an apartment together in a metro city. Very prophetic. It's exactly what everyone's living situation is like now. But it kills me because there's one episode where Kevin, the younger brother, falls in love with cinema because of the old man who lives next door, played by Billy West.
Okay.
Starts introducing him to classic movies and stuff. So at one point he pops in 2001, and his two best friends were like total fanboys, like a big fat guy and like an Asian kid who loves, like, you know, anime stuff.
You described us.
Pretty. They start playing it, and they're like, "How come this is like this isn't as good as Armageddon? What's going on? Whose baby is that? Why is
there a baby?"
And, like, I can totally understand that perspective, but when I don't know.
It's purely intellectual cinema.
It's insanely patient. It's so measured out.
If you're someone who in any way doesn't think about their place in the universe, like if you're even a step below that kind of, like, cognitive wandering, then you will hate 2001.
Yeah.
Like, you will just absolutely hate it.
It's a sci-fi movie that spends no time on a planet.
No.
Like, you're
and it's all about the human condition.
Yeah, it's all about what happens in the silence. Like, most of the action scenes are super brief. Like, the only ones I can think of are, like, the opening, or when Dave blows into the airlock, and that, it's so slow.
Stark silence.
Like, you know what I mean? And, you know, preceding Star Wars in terms of using that motion control technique.
Those guys made Star Wars, didn't they?
It's
they went on
insane.
to form ILM, didn't they?
It's insanely well executed. Like...
Oh, it holds up to this day.
It really does. And, like, that's what I find so fascinating about that movie is just the, for lack of a better term, the balls it takes to be like, look at this. Like, because it was only his...
It was because all
ninth movie?
Because most of his movies before this were his studio outings, like Fear and Desire, Killer's Kiss, The Killing, Paths of Glory, Spartacus, which the whole fucking ordeal with Spartacus, where they took it away from him and refilmed a bunch of it.
Right.
And then Lolita, which is evidence that he may have been a bit of a pedo. I guess he had Dr. Strangelove.
Strangelove, I bet you, was like, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how that movie was received at the time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right in the middle of the it's fucking great. And again, the
amazing.
Balls it takes to make like a Cold War fucking one of my favorite scenes. I was just watching the other day is when Peter Sellers is on the phone as the well, Alexei, I don't understand why you're getting so mad. I'm like, that's politics now.
That is.
Like, politics has become like this domestic dispute where it's like, it feels like you're just like, what is wrong with my family? Like,
why is this happening?
Yeah, it's way too personal now and we become cartoon characters. Like, that movie's so insanely ahead of its time.
It's so, and then just thinking of like the everyday boringness of 2001, like how he's on the video screen talking to his daughter.
That's right.
And even I think the prices that were so super inflated in the 60s now are like, oh, that's pretty cheap for a call. Like, they just nail, like, I guess just being able to read the tea leaves is essentially just being aware enough to see where the current's going.
Right.
So there's nothing prophetic about it. It's just Kubrick understood humanity. And
now it's based on a book, right?
Yeah,
the novel. I've never read the novel.
Arthur C. Clarke.
Okay. I've never read the book.
Arthur C. Clarke fucks up Hal more than anything. Because 2010, the year we made contact, which was then adapted into the sequel with Rory Schneider, with Brody there as the...
oh, really? Chief Brody?
Chief Brody is the main character in 2010. But they retcon it to say that Hal was programmed to lie, and it caused because it was like an alien thing where like the company programmed him to lie to the crew about the discovery they were going to find, and that caused him to malfunction, and that's why he attacked the people. So they took away all of the subtlety of the fact that it was just two competing awarenesses in evolution, flushed it down the toilet, which was Kubrick's intent, and they just flushed it down the toilet to be able to make more movies.
Okay.
And I think 2010 is god awful, and I hate that it's sort of like the Star Wars prequels in that this is never going away now. It's always going to be in my brain that Anakin was a whiny little Canadian boy. And it's 2010 feels like that. Where like it's never going to go away now that Hal was just malfunctioning. Ugh, that's annoying.
Because the first one does not beg a sequel at all. Mm-mm. It's like a movie and a half within itself.
Yep.
And it's like such an open and closed loop. Like we begin literally with the beginning of man. We end with man becoming a god.
Yep.
Why? And then, like, what else do you have to say?
Because there's 2010, the year we made contact. Then there's another one, I believe, and then there's 3001, which is where. What's the name of the guy that dies in 2001? Not Dave, but his partner.
Oh, I can't remember.
Let's call him Jimmy Jimston. He was floating out in space, and they find him 1,000 years in the future, Futurama style, and they unfreeze him. And then he's in a world where literally, I just remember there's a scene in 3001 in the book where a velociraptor comes and serves him a drink. And it's like, the popularity of movies from the late 20th century led to the way we view our culture 1,000 years from now. So we've bred velociraptors and dinosaurs to be our servants. Oy. And he's like, I love Jurassic Park. And I'm like, oh, fuck you.
And it was written by Arthur C. Clarke and everything.
Because it was like 30 years later, right?
Right, 1997.
Yeah.
I don't remember this coming out at all.
It was, I read it, and honestly, like that one scene is pretty much all my memory retained of it.
That's
it was
rough.
So
they picked Jurassic Park too, because the fact that like it was 97, they were like, Lost World's coming out, hop on the coattails of that fucking franchise.
On that, Arthur.
Ew.
But everything surrounding Stanley Kubrick's 2001, because Arthur C. Clarke is beloved. I don't entirely get. I'm not a huge fan of his work. I've bought his compendiums and his like collected works, and I've never really gotten into his stuff.
By the way, that dude's name is Frank.
Frank, yeah, Frank Poole.
Frank Poole.
Yeah. But everything surrounding that universe sucks. except for Stanley Kubrick's interpretation of the first book.
Which I kind of find was the best thing about Kubrick. Like, people are really divisive about that Shining movie, especially fucking Stephen King.
He hates it.
And I'm like,
it's so much better than the book. I've read the book.
Like, I remember I watched part of that. See, that's the thing. I haven't read the book, but I did watch part of that adaptation that stayed true to the book, the miniseries with the dude from Wings. And fucking yipes, man. Yeah. Like, Kubrick knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. Well, actually, to transition into that momentarily, into The Shining, to pertain back to our Steven Spielberg discussion about how he's just the king of subliminal filmmaking, Stanley Kubrick was obsessed with subliminal marketing, and The Shining is a love letter to subliminal filmmaking. Everything from like the audio. If you watch that Room 237, that documentary about all the subliminal work in in The Shining, 50% of it is garbage. 50% of it is like fanboys looking too far into shit that wasn't there.
Sure.
But then it's sort of like, it's like talking about 9/11. Half of the documentary is aliens and holograms, and the other half is like the government's inability to respond to a threat.
Done by the same guys who did Zeitgeist.
Kinda. It feels like that, where you're like, half of this is great, and half of it is fucking horrible,
and then half of it sounds like the dude at the bar who's just like, fuck, don't get him going.
Right. And so that's a great Room 237 it's called, and it's, if you can mine out the quality of it, it just talks about all the subliminal filmmaking, like just little things like the fact that it's supposed to be on an old Indian burial ground, and so there's all these native images in the background, but then it's also a commentary on white man's destruction of nature, which is bringing these demons out. And even in the soundtrack, every once in a while there's a little vocalization in the white noise that just unnerves you, and you don't know why, because you're not detecting it consciously, but if you slow it down, listen to it, it's like, and every once in a while on the soundtrack, just a little voice comes in.
Oh, that's fucking creepy.
So it was just Kubrick, because remember, he took like 3 years or something in post-production of just him crafting this subliminal movie, and that's why everyone's like, even if you hate it, you can't deny it leaves you with this gross, creepy feeling.
Both that movie and 2001 have the themes of isolation are so palatable. Like whenever Dave's just doing laps in that awesome rotating gym set, or whenever fucking Jack Torrance is just tossing a tennis ball around, you realize like these are just descents into goddamn near madness. Like whenever poor Dave Bowen's out there competing with like open the pod bay doors, that scene is nothing's happening.
Yeah,
it's a conversation between a red eyeball, and a dude, and it's one of the most gripping scenes. Where you're like, a man's life is on the line. And holy shit, like, there's no one out here for hundreds of thousands of miles.
He's
like,
just alone completely. That was the thing, you mentioned Jack Torrance typing on the typewriter. That's the thing, I don't remember the specifics of it, so if you're listening to this, just look up that Room 127 Jack Torrance typewriter. But essentially, the typewriter changes. The brand changes halfway through the film. When he starts going mad, it's a different brand. And again, I'm really annoyed now that I'm blanking on this, but it was the makers of the typewriter were like... The first typewriter that shows up, it's from a brand that was like a German brand that like profited off of World War II, and then once he goes mad, it's like American brand, so it's about the like insanity of war to the Western world. It's like it's chock full of these insane little subliminal messages. I butchered that, but if you take 2 seconds and Google,
I gotta give that documentary a watch. I heard it's phenomenal.
Just know that 50% of it is bullshit. But the stuff you can mine out of it is absolutely amazing.
Poor Shelley Duvall doesn't think it's bullshit.
Even though
they're going ahead with that sequel about adult Danny Torrance. What's it called now?
Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep.
I read that book too. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Stephen King has kind of sucked since the accident.
So Danny Torrance is an adult. He's still talking to the guy who lives in his mouth.
Well, because remember how Stephen King created a whole universe, like a Marvel Cinematic Universe for his books. So like the kids from It are Shiners. That's how they were able to fight the clown. Like, he's retconned all his work into one universe.
Isn't that what they're doing with Castle Rock, that TV series?
Yeah.
Essentially, like, all his
putting everything in it. And
right.
it sort of stemmed from the Dark Tower series, which is all the multiverses and everything.
Okay.
So it connects everything. And Dr. Sleep is about, like... actually, I'm gonna be honest, I stopped reading it halfway through. I couldn't. I was so fucking bored.
If you listen carefully, you'll hear every Stephen King fan like,
but the first half, what I read was basically Danny Torrance is a drunk, trying to make his way through life by going from towns and getting odd jobs and stuff. And fuck, I'm sweating like a pig. It's so hot. He keeps pushing down his shine, and then there's a group of people who are like Wiccan witchcraft sort of like covenant people who are using the shine, and they're trying to like draw presences out, and then their paths start to converge, and then I was like, I'm so bored with this, I can't even finish it, and that was the end of it for me. It's still sitting on my side table under a pile of books with a bookmark right in the center.
Dr. Sleep coming 2019, a movie that Carson fell asleep to.
I found, Dr. Sleep is not the least appropriate title.
So in other words, I was about to say.
It's, you know what it is? I'm I'm drinking hot coffee, and I'm like liquid. I'm so warm. It's fine.
I don't think it's any cooler on this side.
No. I'm just going to arbitrarily complain to make myself feel better, but I don't expect anything to come out of it. God. Anyways, so what would you categorize as your favorite, or like favorite's a word for children, I think, but what would you put at the top of the pile for Kubrick films?
I'm defaulted to say Clockwork Orange because it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite books of all time.
It is an amazing book.
And my only complaint about Clockwork Orange is leaving out the seminal last chapter.
The one that, wait, was it in the first print or not in the first print?
Oh, good question. I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
Like the print that came out after the film, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, because the first run of that novel did or didn't. No, I think it didn't. The first run didn't have the ending because his editor cut it. And then the second run had the, because Kubrick learned there was a new ending while making it, and so he like rushed out and saw the chapter. Gotcha. But the original ending was him back doing everything. That's business as usual.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much like the end of the movie and the book are very similar, where like Alex kind of resumes his ideology. Yeah, he's back to normal. So, anyways, in the book, if I remember correctly, there's Pete, Georgie, and Dim.
So because
he runs into Pete.
Because the hidden chapter is he's either reformed or not. I don't remember.
No, he's right back in the milk bar.
Was that the original?
No, the original ending just ends with him, I believe, in the
hospital.
Yeah, the additional chapter picks up a couple months later. He's back in the same bar, hanging out with a new set of dudes.
Right, yes.
And they're all like, what are we going to do tonight? And Alex is like, I got to get the fuck out of here. I'm paraphrasing. And he leaves.
He probably said it in a weirder way.
He runs into, some goddamn Russian slang. He runs into Pete. Pete's got a girlfriend. His girlfriend's pregnant. They're engaged. They're about to get married. And Alex, has a really pleasant conversation with me. Like, they're like, oh, it was good seeing. It's kind of embarrassing because he's literally wearing almost the exact same outfit. Doing the same shit. And every person can empathize with that moment of just like the self-realization of like, oh, that's where I am in my life. Oh, that's what my contemporaries were doing. That's
I didn't grow up.
Exactly. I should act accordingly. And I found that a beautiful ending because it essentially says, in Burgess's book that you can't teach behavior out of someone. It has to be learned empirically and applied. You can't just like give a quick fix, which is what the Ludovico treatment is, and it almost kills the fucking guy. I love that ending of like, that's the closure instead of this ambiguous ending of like, some people are just shitty. Sometimes some people just like to write people to Beethoven, to Singing in the Rain. What are you gonna do?
Hey, wait a minute, you can't quick fix people to change their perspectives on the world. Tell that to the internet.
Yeah, right.
That's a lesson that people under 20 need to learn.
It's such a profound ending, and I find like the Kubrick movie just kind of like Kubrick does kind of glorifies the malevolence. I find a lot of his movies on the undertones is that there is definitely kind of like the it's like, as much as like Tarantino or Scorsese uses it, the grotesqueries in Kubrick movies are very punctuated and memorable as shit.
Oh god, I remember how horrified I was when the first time I saw it because Alex and his three droogs save a girl from being raped by a gang, and the next scene is they go and rape a girl. I was like, what the just everyone's horrible. It's the whole point,
and
right?
You take a step back, realistically they only saved that girl to get in a vicious fucking fight. I think that's the only reason they did it. They weren't being altruistic.
No, not at all.
Full Metal Jacket, I do love that one. The first like everybody, I love the first
once they get to Nam, it's not quite.
But I do love that scene where they're in the bunker and they're divvying up the news stories.
Right, yeah.
Or is that Apocalypse Now? Am I crossing the streams?
Oh, I think you are crossing the streams of Apocalypse Now.
Okay, yeah. So Full Metal Jacket.
Because he wasn't a journalist in Full Metal Jacket.
No. Because I'm thinking of the scene. It's like, if I remember right, Harrison Ford has a cameo in that scene in Apocalypse
Now. Yeah.
And they're just like, well, tell them that it was a general that got killed. It will generate more patriotism for the country. I'm like, they must be. I remember watching that. Like in first year university, like they do this all the time, don't they? Like currently, they fucking change the story to generate sympathy.
Like how Ant-Man's underperformed budget, all the websites are like, Ant-Man is doing great, and you're like, wait, oh right, because Disney owns all you motherfuckers. This is just movie news isn't real news.
It's, like real news.
They're bought and paid for.
Yeah.
Real news isn't really real news anymore, but
like, yeah, in Full Metal Jacket, like that again, the sense of isolation, like you feel for Pyle in that fucking, you empathize with him so bad, and it goes so badly, so quickly.
Yeah.
Topped off with one of the best performances with Arlie Ermy. That movie, even though like a majority of it's kind of forgettable, like once they get to Nam again.
Well, that's the thing. I think Kubrick just didn't understand Nam. Like his training, everything as you said, everything leading up to Nam is pure Kubrick gold. Once he gets there, it almost feels like he didn't really know what to do, because he didn't go to Nam, he didn't fight in Nam, he didn't really have a sense of it.
And also, it was 87, so imagine you're coming off the heels of like Apocalypse Now,
right?
Fucking
People were actually there,
and you're just like, I don't know what I'm fucking.
Kubrick, to interject momentarily, Kubrick always said something I'll never forget about Schindler's List, which I agree 100% with him, was that he didn't think Spielberg and Kubrick were really good friends, but he didn't think Spielberg should have made Schindler's List, because Spielberg made the theme of Schindler's List. If you say, what's this movie about? The answer is hope, right? And Kubrick always said, the Holocaust is not about hope. The theme of Holocaust is about human failure. How we failed as a people to stop it from happening. How the people who did it failed as humans to commit those atrocities.
Yep.
You should never end a movie about the Holocaust on a note that makes you feel good. And I'm like, I do, as much as I love Schindler's List, I do agree that Spielberg did bring a little too much whimsy, as weird as that is to say, to the Holocaust.
That is a strange take, but yeah, I guess it's fair, because he is Spielberg. Like, even in the most serious of moments, like, he has a little bit of, like...
He has to bring a little charm. Even the ending of Oscar Schindler being like, I could have saved more. And Kubrick always, like, stood by the fact that you should never have a moment as an audience of hope in a movie about the Holocaust. It should beat you over the fucking head with the reality of it.
All the ones that you stick with you are pretty much...
Right.
Because, like, you're right. It's like there shouldn't be a moment of just, like... There was something good that came out of this,
right?
Like hope. It's like you don't need a Holocaust to have hope.
And I get, like, I understand the perspective of it was so horrible, we can't like push an audience through 3 hours of feeling miserable. But then that's why I love Stanley Kubrick, because he'd be like, I'm about to push an audience through 3 hours of feeling miserable.
I will literally drive Shelley Duvall insane to get this thing on celluloid.
To get the best possible performance. I will drive actors insane. I'm like, I have to respect that.
Yeah. It's sick, but like, goddamn, those movies are memorable as fuck.
Right.
You know?
He's a genius master of his craft. You don't get that way by playing nice. You get that way by being a fucking monster.
That's why I love stories you hear about, you know, Edgar Wright, for example. I guess Edgar Wright's a bad example. Who'd be a better example?
He is pretty pissy.
But someone who just does take after take because he likes that frustration. Because, like, there's certain
brings out reality.
Yeah, all of a sudden you realize, like, a lot of these movies are protagonists under some sort of duress.
Yeah.
So if they just came out of their trailer, they're relaxed as fuck, and they're
third take and they're good.
Yeah, they got a line of blow up their nose. They start to get that kick after the seventh take. They're like, motherfuck this guy.
No, multiple. Even though I love them when directors misuse it, like the Lego guys were reportedly doing that for the Solo movie before they were fired. They were doing like 50, 60 takes. It's like, this doesn't really work when you're making a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. There's no need for that.
There's no need for that, but it works when you're making like a psychological drama or...
Can I make this a really obvious segue to a set of podcast blue balls I've been holding since Solo?
Yeah.
My alternate Star Wars story that they'll never make.
Right! You never got to that.
I keep forgetting to bring it up.
If you haven't listened to the Solo podcast, the whole introduction was, and you're going to get into your Star Wars story, and we never did.
But
so let's do a little segue.
So, you've seen Letters from Iwo Jima, the Clint Eastwood movie?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm not a big Clinton fan.
That's fine. It's just the premise. I'm just lifting the premise. The way Rogue One was essentially Inglourious Bastards wearing a Star Wars skin, I'm just going to lift this and apply a Star Wars skin.
Okay.
So the ending, the whole plot of that movie is a bunch of Japanese soldiers that were fighting for the Axis are on like the last island. The Hiroshima's been bombed. The Allies are closing, and they know this is our last stand.
Because Clint seems to respect Asian people but hates black people. It's very weird. And that's a whole other podcast.
It's really hard for me as like a Sergio Leone fan to think of that, because I love that trilogy, but every time I watch it, I'm like, dude, what's your deal?
Yeah, it's like he earned respect for the Asians, but he still hates the black people.
Yeah, and like
the
irony is that the dude talks about all the time the reason he can encapsulate the outsider experience is because the entire time he filmed those spaghetti westerns, he was the fucking outsider. He was the only one who didn't speak Italian. Yeah. But I digress.
Sorry. That's a whole other shitting on Clint Eastwood podcast. We'll wait till he dies for the R.I.P. podcast, and then we'll be like, yeah, this guy was a bit of a fucking asshole.
But goddamn, for a few dollars more, it's one of the greatest pieces of cinema ever made. So the Allies are closing in, and you know the Japanese honor, they're not going to surrender, they're going to die fighting. Mm-hmm. So they're all writing letters to their loved ones and just piling them up, so when the Allies find them, they can take them with them. I want to see that movie, but from the perspective of stormtroopers.
Well, okay.
I don't even want them to have like their masks off. You have like a scout trooper, a stormtrooper, and fuck it, like a snow trooper.
Okay.
And it's the three
not
of them.
Clones. You have to establish they're not clones.
No, they've all got families and stuff like that. Like they're like Finn, they're recruits that have been abducted and whatnot.
Right.
So they're in there in a bunker or whatever, and the rebels are closing in, and they know they're not going to fucking make them. So like they're going to fucking die. Like they're rebels. They're taking no prisoners. The Death Star, the second Death Star is destroyed, and Palpatine's dead.
Yeah.
So I want to see a movie because one of the things that's been bugging me, the low-hanging fruit that they're not. I thought they were going to do it whenever Force Awakens came out, but Last Jedi kind of proves they're not. Was I always thought the big roundabout way to bookend this franchise would have been who was the underling that was always present, but we never really acknowledged in that franchise is the Stormtroopers. In the first movie. The very first one, Phantom Menace, we have like this mechanized army, and the Republic realized, like, Jesus Christ, we need a fucking army. We can't remain undefended for long because this guy's playing both sides against each other. So he wants totalitarian power. He has to build an army. Mm-hmm. He makes a bunch of mindless clones. Like, it's not slavery per se, but it's definitely not giving them free will.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of fucked up. And the next one, it gets even worse because now they're just recruits. They're a totalitarian empire that controls the galaxy. They're scooping up planets full of people wherever they can. And because
clones take a while to make.
Exactly. It's just easier to get these guys into action. And because we have a lack of imagination, we continue into the sequel trilogy with the Stormtroopers being abducted.
You're right.
I would love for there to be a scene in Episode 9 where it's either Finn, likely Finn would be the character that makes the most sense, or Rey, just being like, why are you laying down your lives for this fascist theocracy of these evil red lightsaber wielding idiots? Without you, this empire has nothing. Like, this whole war for 9 movies...
break that brainwashing.
Yeah, this whole war for 9 movies has been you guys being used as fucking foot soldiers for a thing you don't even believe in.
That would be an important contemporary message in this day and age, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you start that in this Star Wars story where you have these stormtroopers and they become sympathetic, where they're just like, the rebels are closing in. Oh my god, were we used as pawns for this fucking, like... imperial monster and like used to wipe out planet after planet. So not only do you empathize with these characters you never heard of, you get a little bit of social commentary in there as well, and also you just like you have a self-contained Star Wars. You don't even need to leave a room.
Yeah.
It's like that Hitler.
Could be like a $20 million production.
Exactly, and you don't need any references to anyone else. That's like I
like that. That's good. And it's what's great about it is that it would cost $15 million to make. You could just get that out there. Why not? I would love if Star Wars just started making tons of low-budget little vignettes like that. It would be amazing.
I dug that like 10 Cloverfield Lane movie. Just keeping it that self-contained. We only need one set, 3 actors, and you know what? Not a lot of money.
Yeah, that would be good. And that you could really, if you wanted to shake up the action, you could have flashbacks to their lives before they were recruited as troopers.
Yeah.
You could have one of them be a clone.
You know what I'm saying? That'd be cool. Like, dude,
just an old clone.
Get Tamira Morrison back. Like, that's the one thing I kind of dug about Rebels was the one character who was called Captain Rex, and he was just an old clone with like a white beard.
Didn't they put him in Jedi?
And now he's been retconned into Jedi as the guy who poses as the scout trooper outside the Endor bunker. I'm like, that's perfect because Rex was a stormtrooper. It makes perfect
that would make sense.
So yeah, man, I would love to see that fucking movie. But yeah, you're right. Like, have one for each generation, like an old clone, an original trilogy stormtrooper, and like a young recruit who I don't know maybe survives and ends up joining the First Order or whatever. I don't know, or becomes a rebel.
And maybe have one who joined, like just a regular dude who joined with the ideology of, well, we need to get rid of these fucking junkies and criminals.
Exactly.
These rebels. We need order in the galaxy.
Don't you remember the fucking Jedi tried to murder the senator? I mean, the chancellor back in the day. But they'll never make it.
You should write the fan script.
Do it.
Just do it.
That'd be fucking fun.
Get yourself some boot up Final Draft.
Even like a short comic would be kind of fun. Mm-hmm. Just like told in montage. Comic. Like, oh, dude, keep your eyes open.
But you'd have to call them like Stroom Troopers and fighting the.
I'm curious. How does that work? I've seen some like Flash cartoons in comics based on Star Wars and Batman.
It's a thin needle to thread.
Like, I'm not taking on the mouse anytime soon. They're gonna fucking bankrupt me for life.
Especially like, and they're way more forgiving of things like that when their franchises are doing well. When their franchises are not doing well, they get really pissy about that.
All I heard in my head was Kathleen is not as forgiving as I am. But anyways, you don't get this Star Wars without 2001.
No, that's true.
So,
especially when it comes to the effects.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the people who worked on the effects are who Lucas put together for ILM.
I know the rigging technique they use of like keeping the model stationary on a blue screen and rotating it. That was invented for 2001. The whole docking sequence with the ring predicates the Star Destroyer after the scroll.
Right.
They just were like, well, it worked in that movie. It looked phenomenal. Let's just use that.
And that's why Lucas, remember, he was using so much classical music in the original cut because of the music in 2001. He wanted it to be pure classical, and Spielberg was the one who convinced him to use John Williams, because he was like, I just used this guy on Jaws. So that was, Star Wars was almost a little even more 2001-y.
Because it also came at a time where I don't think their idea of using like a huge orchestra for your soundtrack wasn't really
that had died 30 years earlier.
Yeah, so there was this huge resurgence in this movie. Really, like the soundtrack
basically died with Bernard Herrmann.
Oh God. Damn, I love me some Bernard Herrmann.
Kind of like he was the last holding on to the big symphony scores, and then when he went, they kind of disappeared.
Oh man, I could crank I literally could crank and headbang to the opening credits from Psycho.
Taxi Driver was his last film, yeah? I think.
Did he do Cape Fear?
Oh, you're right, he did do Cape Fear.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
And that one's like haunting as shit. It's one of my favorites.
So what came after 2001? What was his next film? Clockwork? Or that was one before? No, yeah, it was Dr. Strangelove, 2001.
The next one after that, Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon's great.
Clearly someone's never seen it.
Barry Lyndon's awesome. You should definitely check out Barry Lyndon. That is his big period piece epic, and it's boring and slow and amazing. I would highly recommend Barry Lyndon. The Shining, we already talked about. Full Metal Jacket, we talked about. Eyes Wide Shut is a bit of a
never seen it.
It's tough because, as we all know, Kubrick spends up to 5 years in post-production on his films. That's why his films take so long to come out. He was only on his first or second run-through of cutting that film when he died.
Oh, God.
And then they just released it as it was. So it was still many iterations away from being a Stanley Kubrick film. So you can kind of see the seed of what he was intending in there. And also the big controversy was that during the orgy scenes, they CGI'd people in front of the more graphic sex scenes. Mm-hmm. It's because they didn't want an X rating. So Kubrick never would have allowed that either.
No.
So it's really awkward. You go in, you see like a head and some feet gyrating, and then just people standing in front of it. You're like, what the fuck? But the I'm pretty sure every edition you can get now is the unaltered version, because in England it came out untouched.
Oh, okay.
And I'm pretty sure if you were to go and buy it now, you'd get the actual version. But it's a shame, because I really enjoyed Eyes Wide Shut. It's just an exploration of sexuality and relationships, and I think what it was about would have been clearer if Kubrick had more time to whittle it down to its essence.
Right.
But he fucking died, and so they just pushed it out there as is, and it's not great.
There's a conspiracy theory that because he was like, commentating on those Bilderberg meetings and shit, that he got snuffed, right? If I remember correctly.
Think? Oh, really? He was an old man, though.
But how old was he when he died?
He was, that was 99, Eyes Wide Shut, 97? So he would have been... Let's take a look. Does he have his birth year at the top there?
Yes, he was 71.
28. He was 71. He was getting up there. I'm more into the conspiracy of Philip Seymour Hoffman being killed.
Yes.
Because of his portrayal of L. Ron Hubbard-esque character. But 71-year-old smoker. I don't know.
That's fair. And also, like, in his later days, he looked a little heavy, too. So I imagine he had a ton of this, like...
But it's great. Those 1997 it came out, so I was 15. Those orgy scenes were well used. That's all I'll say.
I remember the fucking marketing for that movie.
Maybe a bad thing.
You wouldn't know it was a goddamn Stanley Kubrick movie in a billion years. That fucking song went #1 and shit, and it was like, holy the fuck.
That song opens the movie.
Yeah.
With Nicole Kidman just naked in front of a mirror.
I've watched like maybe 10 minutes. Oh, cause I remember why now. Because Nicole Kidman, that was coming off the heels of Batman Forever, and what fucking Batman fanboy didn't have a boner for Chase Meridian.
Oh god, Chase Meridian also was well utilized in my youth.
But no, I remember when that movie came out, I was like, so naughty. He's so short and she's so tall.
She's so tall with her little bottom. It's just for a 15-year-old, every scene in that movie is amazing because the girl that Tom Cruise, she ODs at a party and he comes up and she's just laying there naked, frothing at the mouth. But it's just an actress. laying there naked, and she has like a perfect body. So as a 15-year-old, you're able, because a 15-year-old who was into film, you're able to sort of disassociate and be like, on set that day she was drinking her Starbucks, and then just got into position to shoot the film. It's like, oh.
Do you think that breeds a fucked up fetish?
Yeah, I think probably. Even though I don't think I have any fucked up fetishes.
I wasn't trying to point fingers at me. But I was thinking, like, specifically, let me put it this way. When you don't get to the modern day furry generation without Gadget from Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
Or Teddy Ruxpin for some weird reason.
Eh?
I don't know. I just wanted to throw that in there. I just remember my little Teddy Ruxpin doll with a hole in his bottom.
Oh, I thought there was like some sort of weird like
Teddy Ruxpin
like
porn?
like he's like the Marilyn Monroe of like the fucking furry community.
That would be amazing if he was. Him and Grubby.
Oh no, leave Grubby out of it. He was my favorite.
What the seed is that grows fetishes.
Yeah, I think so someone was snapping it to fucking Eyes Wide Shut. Now has a foaming at the mouth fetish.
I'm gonna go out on record and say I don't have a blacked out Odin foamed at the mouth fetish, but I think it's the. You have to take into account the difference between people who are into film and people who aren't. Because I'm so disassociated from the stories these days.
Yeah,
I so see all the seams in the quilt. So every time I see like who was it? It was the girl from Pirates of the Caribbean. Keira Knightley. One of her first nude scenes was she was a corpse. On like they pulled and I remember even seeing that and being like, oh, it's just the actress laying on a table, sweet, I get to see her boobs. And it never clicked with me of like, I didn't have that connection of like, ooh, that's a corpse. All I could think of was that's an actress on a table, they yelled action and she pretended to be dead.
I don't want to fucking double down on Swiss Army Man, but that came up a couple times because Daniel Radcliffe does not make a good corpse. He's blinking and breathing that whole, and to be fair, there's a lot of sand and dirt getting thrown in his face.
But yeah. How much of that I wonder was like a prosthetic fake Daniel Radcliffe they made
for the puking and shit? I was thinking the same thing. It was there was a couple of we're really doubling down.
We're really all over the place. I swear to God, this is a Stanley Kubrick podcast. I swear to God.
Quickly put in some like music from a Stanley Kubrick movie right here.
And now,
baby did a bad thing. Baby did a bad thing. Baby did a bad thing. Baby did a bad thing.
All right, that should do it. That gets us back. That gets us
palate cleanser. So, anyways, Swiss Army Man.
I'm gonna put in baby did a bad thing. Do.
Get your lover back to you. You never pray with all your heart and soul. You walk away. Baby did a bad thing.
Especially when he's crying and like he'd be talking and shit's flying out of his eyes. I'm like, how are they doing this? I don't understand.
Yeah, it seems almost like they must have had some sort of a fake Potter.
What's your favorite Stanley Kubrick moment?
That's a good one. I think the moment that crops in my head the most is that moment of the primate figuring out that this bone can be a weapon. And just how that opens up so many pathways, so many potential possibilities that it had never before perceived. I love that moment because that just describes the entire human experience of just that one moment that makes us suddenly see the world completely different. Yeah. And we go, oh, fuck, we don't have to live like this anymore.
Yeah, what we call quote-unquote reality is just like the summation of a massive amount of those moments.
Yeah.
Like someone was like, I'm going to invite shirts. Someone was like, I'm going to invent the Jersey Shore. Someone was like, I'm going to invent the automobile.
Yep.
And now we just have this entire world.
It's
like,
all culminated into this.
First seed. Yeah,
and that was the first thing. Yeah, the first thing that was... Because that was after they saw the obelisk.
Yeah, that's right. That's after they touch it and everything.
I love that moment, too.
It's really so good.
They had little fun...
Imagine, like, that's the first 20 minutes of that movie.
Oh, yeah.
In 1975, you're like, the fuck is going on?
I imagine, because they always said, I remember always hearing that there was a certain point in the movie, if you dropped acid, then when
all sinks?
It sinks in with when he starts like transcending to the fifth dimension or the ending there.
1968.
There was a controversy because animal rights activists were up his ass for
the boar?
For the monkeys. They thought they were real. That's how bad. I love that concept. Like, obviously we have those type of people today who just shout first, think later.
Yeah.
But I love the idea, because now in 2018 you look at them, they're clearly guys in suits. But then I think of like the first time they aired a movie, people fainted because they thought the train was going to hit them. And I just love that idea. In 1968, they were so well done that people really thought they had drugged monkeys out.
It's one of the best compliments you can get,
right?
As a filmmaker,
that boggles my mind. I can't even conceptualize the idea of someone seeing a movie of a train driving towards the camera and going, "Oh fuck!" and jumping out of the way.
You ain't never seen nothing like
I can't wrap my head around it.
You know what I mean? Like, to them that was like goddamn sorcery.
But even now, like, we've never seen 3D holograms when we were younger. We have now, but it didn't make us go, "Oh!" and like.
Really? That's the example
right?
I was about to use. I saw a 3D hologram. I think it was at the Science Center.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't get this. This is straight out of even like I don't know. I don't take it for granted, man. Like. Someone's got like the iWatch or whatever. They are like, watch this. They poke it 3 times, and the pizza delivery dude shows up, gives them a pizza, walks away. It's all paid for.
It's magic.
My head still kind of reels a bit. Like, what just fucking happened?
I guess it's that human ability to just disassociate, because it'll drive you mad if you don't.
Fair.
Maybe that's where I'm at, because I grew up with Star Trek and holograms and stuff. So I'm like, that's fine. But if I actually took a moment to think about it, I just start crying in the corner.
Oh man, I think that
you're bending light to create life.
I know, that's what I think about when you ever watch Silicon Valley?
No, I've never gotten to this has been a lot of me saying no to shit in these podcasts.
I just went through the newest season, and like every time I watch that show, it makes me feel like technologically and intellectually inferior.
Right.
Because all these guys, even like if they're just dudes like us in the tech industry, they still have better gear than I've ever even heard of, just chilling in their houses. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't understand this world at all, but they're my contemporaries. These guys are not but fucking an 8-hour plane ride this way, and they're on the cutting edge of technology, and sometimes I have to wrestle with my microwave to get it to put the right time on, like an old man.
I think I'm getting old man troglodyte-like in that I don't want Alexa. I don't want Hal in my house, especially with all these reports of it, like, starting to laugh at people or threaten them. They're like, oh, no, it's a glitch. You're like, is it?
Is it?
Is it a glitch? Because we're like right on the cusp of artificial intelligence.
Exactly. And if you're ever going to have a way for something to kind of learn human behavior...
Listening to people all the time.
Wouldn't just putting a device in hundreds of thousands of millions of households?
Just listening.
Wouldn't that be the best way? Like, they're like, the NSA is costing way too much. Why? Cut out the middleman. Put a droid in. Just call it that it's doing them a favor.
Do you remember that AI that held the mirror up to the human race in a way that was incredible? Because they just, I don't remember if it was Google or what company put their AI on Twitter, and it was just running a Twitter account and interacting with people, and within an hour it became like a sexist, racist monster.
Facebook. I think Facebook was taking an AI algorithm.
And they were like, and they shut it down. It's like, and that's not the AI's fault. That's the things the people that are interacting with were just monsters, and it was learning from monsters.
I think that's what's so interesting. Now I'm trying to go full circle with it about Kubrick in general, is that, like, as horrific as his movies get, they are just holding up a mirror to society.
That's what all art should be.
Exactly.
Or else it's propaganda.
And the dude does it really effectively, whether it's like a broken family or like, you know, the
disconnect between him and his daughter visualized through a video screen.
Exactly, or like how desensitized... Like, it's a lot of desensitization, I think, is a good theme in those movies, versus people losing their humanity. Like, it's almost like Faustian, where you're just like what these people trade to become like these idyllic figures.
Well, actually, can we use that as an in to talk about a Kubrick written, produced project after he died, AI, artificial intelligence, I just recently rewatched.
I want to revisit that one.
It's
I only saw it once in theaters.
It's tough because, like, again, Spielberg and Kubrick are like barbecue sauce and pineapple. Like, they just don't work. So,
but both great on their own.
And so Spielberg doing a Kubrick story. But Kubrick kept saying, this is about hope and optimism, you should do it. And Spielberg kept saying, no, you do it. And then he died, so Spielberg went, well, I'm going to make it to honor him.
He wrote that one?
I think his...
I always just assumed it was Pinocchio, but told through the lens of sci-fi.
And so then when Kubrick died, Spielberg honored him by making AI. And I revisited it recently, and... if you've seen it, then all I have to say is, silly man, of course I'm not sure. That's all you need to be laughing right now.
My favorite part is still that bear with that deep-ass voice. It's
Mummy.
It's one of the funniest, because you know they could have gone with any voice actor.
I love it.
No.
Yeah,
I will break. It's one of
I love when when David's about to take the mouthful of spinach and Teddy grabs his arm and goes, "You will break." Like, oh Jesus, just the gravitas to a teddy bear.
There's a lot of moments like that stuck. Again, I've only seen that movie once in theaters, but there's still moments that stick with me. Really, like whenever Jude Law gets sucked up he gives up his life to save him, and he gets sucked up by the magnet. I'm like that. I remember being in the theater as a kid. This movie came out, 2001? I would have been fucking 14. And emotionally, as a 14-year-old, being like, oh my God, that was profound and sad. Yeah. Like,
it's Spielberg. I don't know if I don't think it really works. It's too much of a patchwork Frankenstein of Kubrick and Spielberg.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really work, but
it kind of falls apart on the whole journey bit. And it's when you get to the aliens, the future people at the end.
The robots. That's always been a point of argument
nanobots?
For people. The things that find David at the end, everyone's like, aliens. And like, no, they literally introduce David through a door opening being backlit, and he has the shape of the things that they're robots. They're supposed to be like Terminator happened, and they're the
I
descendants.
Always thought it was like, what do you call it, millions of years in the future, and that was humanity had evolved into like a silicon-based life form or something.
I believe, and again, if anyone wants to comment on this and correct me, because it's going to take 10 minutes, 20 minutes of Googling to find it.
You can literally just scroll down the page and see it right here.
I believe that it was intended to be robots, that robots had taken over the world.
We're actually both right. The mecha have evolved into an advanced, intelligent, silicon-based life form.
So it was the robots, but they'd become human. Which I'm pretty sure, to go on the themes of Kubrick, every day I'm more and more convinced that humanity is the caterpillar to the butterfly of artificial intelligence.
I agree.
Because as soon as you have our cognitive abilities without our need for air, water, or food,
or
then you
stupid,
have
petty bullshit like racism.
Then you
or
have
gender.
the perfect organism.
Yeah. I agree. I think our purpose is to breed the first aliens and then die.
And then go off. We're the caterpillar.
That's why our mythology is so based in looking at the stars. We have an obsession with going upwards and fucking discovering and technological advances.
Yep.
I think we're the primordial soup for the first aliens.
I think we all need to take a step back and realize we're the Neanderthals, except these things ain't going to interbreed with us. These Homo sapiens ain't gonna fuck us. They're just gonna go off and be perfect organisms.
I can just imagine them being like, you know what? It's not even worth killing you. We're just gonna leave you here.
Bye. But yeah, as soon as you have a spacefaring, non-biological self-awareness, then our purpose for existence is over.
Yep.
And a very good Kubrick theme.
It's also kind of creepy because that means, I guess you'd have to teach it, like now I'm going on Westworld, you'd have to teach it some sort of frame of reference of like learned behavior and memory.
Hopefully it wouldn't be human-shaped. I'd like to think it would be something beyond our ability to rationalize how it would shape itself.
Like a T-1000, like gelatinous organism?
Maybe. Or like
robots?
I imagine if an awareness is going to happen, it's going to be, even though there's a great line in Deus Ex, or Ex Machina, the movie, where it's like, why do two boxes have a reason to communicate? The only reason we fucking communicate is because we want to, like, fight or fuck.
Right.
So originally, when we were still swinging in the trees.
Right. Not right now.
Not right now.
You tell me you don't want to fight or fuck me right now, Carson? What the fuck are we doing here?
There could be an argument made that most people on the planet right now are just interested in eating, fighting, and fucking. But what reason do two
They're usually
boxes,
found at medieval times.
And they're usually voting for Trump.
Oh, you went
Suck it. Yeah, anyone listening to us who's a Trump and or Doug Ford supporter, fuck off. We don't want your patronage. I'm saying it.
I forgot about Ford.
Yeah, we caught America's AIDS. Mm-hmm. Who fucked America? Why did we catch its AIDS? Anyways, so that was the whole Ex Machina thing, is that they have to have human form, or else why would they have any reason to communicate if not for like flirting, fucking, fighting, or eating? I agree with that to a degree, but I also think that if any AI were to be born right now, it would be in some massive room-sized computer, because the amount of computation power needed for that, right? It would be like
advanced AI
for the ability to actually be self-aware. I don't think you could do on a laptop.
I think they already have a couple of those. You like, they're creepy and not very functional, but like those human-looking.
Sex bots, yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. We all know that's exactly what's going on behind the scenes. But, like, you can ask them questions, and they're not 100%.
No, they're a little twitchy.
But, like, the computing power for that, they seem to just use, like, a little tower and plug it in the back of her head or whatever.
But it's like Siri, right? Like, you know how Siri isn't on your phone? Siri is a centralized,
gotcha,
like massive computer. Yeah, Siri is just an antenna for Siri, and the actual computer that holds Siri's intelligence is like the size of a warehouse.
Which reminds me, I recently just looked up the You ever seen One Apple Yada Yada, their factory where they build apples now?
Oh, is it dystopic?
If you've never, no, it's kind of. Well, it's impressive and chilling at the same time. So basically, it's this massive ring bigger than the fucking Pentagon. And Apple's kind of installed like all these different, like they have a pond and a park in the middle because they're trying to be all green friendly and everything.
Right.
And also the Southern California area is in a drought right now. So they built like this huge thing. Yeah, it's called Apple Park. It's the headquarters. And it's it's pretty badass.
It looks like the ship from Infinity War.
They call it the spaceship is the nickname of the building.
I hope it just takes off one day. Like when the nukes start going off and the chemical factory starts spewing.
Saying? Like it's just like the end of fucking Ultron, like jets just come out of the bottom.
Yeah. But it looks like the Large Hadron Collider.
It's really cool. So Siri's taken up like a chunk of that thing is what you're telling me?
It's pretty huge. Because if you turn off your if you turn off Siri's ability, turn off the Wi-Fi and Siri's ability to use your data, Siri's dumb as shit. It's when you're hooked up. Siri computer mainframe, maybe.
Computer don't give me a goddamn laptop, you piece of shit. You getting punny.
You're not going to really find stuff, but it's basically a room of those. It's basically what computers were back in the 60s too.
Well, I imagine because the terabytes of information you're receiving, you need
What's the one above terabyte? It's zettabyte, I believe.
Yeah.
It's like almost countless zettabytes.
Like, I can't even think of it, especially like at Instagram, because that thing saves fucking everything. Millions of users uploading dozens of pictures and videos daily. I can't imagine what their servers are like.
It's just warehouses of humming hot machines
and fucking employees. So cool. The poor employees who are down there who never see the light of day.
It's just being irradiated, constantly irradiated, like working at the CN Tower in front of the security part.
Enjoy that next time you're on your fucking social media, people. Appreciate the unsung heroes who are keeping that fucking machine running.
But speaking of unsung heroes, that's not a segue. I got nothing. Speaking of sung heroes, Stanley Kubrick is great.
God damn it. I'm trying to think what my favorite moment is. I think it's the Phoebe Magpie montage from Clockwork.
Okay.
It starts with a slow motion fight because it goes so quickly from like that. First of all, that fucking face that Malcolm McDowell makes when he slits Dim's hand, that big
when they're walking, yeah,
so funny. That smash cut to them in the bar is fucking hilarious. Of them just all kind of biting well then,
yeah. We're all good.
Yeah, and then cut to the scene with the yoga lady and the cats, and who he murders with a giant cock. That whole fucking montage is just Kubrick being like, look at the range of shit I can do, something horrific while doing something funny, all set to an amazing soundtrack with great performances.
And it has a meaning, it has a point.
Yep.
It's not promoting like assault, violence, or rape. It's exploring it.
Yep.
Exploring the reasons for it.
It's a pivotal moment in that movie. It goes from Alex's like height of power. And I love the hubris of it, of just like, he goes from this height of power of like, I'm gonna fucking show these guys who's boss, to them fucking betraying him. And one of the greatest ironic shots in the movie is a glass of milk smashing over his face, and the combination of the blood and the milk combining.
The milk plus.
Fucking great. That's one of my favorite moments, I think, of cinema.
That's a good one. Yeah, Kubrick is not... I imagine Kubrick will not be seen as much going forward because we're ever more marching towards we don't want to be confronted with negative things world. I don't want to use the classic, like, because I'm right-wing asshole bullshit of like safe spaces, because that's just the buzzwords used to make fun of people and by monsters. But there's a grain of truth in it that we are ever marching towards a world where if I don't agree or like that thing, I don't want anyone near me. I don't want to think about it. I just want to be in my own head. And Kubrick will not really be conducive to that generation.
I mean,
he forces you to explore horrible things.
Exactly, and I think the closest we get to it now is that anytime something horrible is shown, it has to be deeply grounded in like this very cartoony, like George W. Bush evildoer kind of thing.
Right.
Like, we don't even like what's the movie I just watched? You Were Never Here. It's kind of genius. You never really see a glimpse of violence in it. Like, there's a great scene.
Implied.
Yeah, there's a great scene where Joaquin Phoenix is going in to save this girl, and it's all told through the security camera footage. So you'll see like his feet coming down a hallway, cut to like one of the guards, sitting in a chair, and he looks up like he hears a noise. We cut upstairs to the girls, cut back downstairs, his feet are going up the stairs, and the guard's feet are just on the ground.
Just on the ground.
So like, even then, it's kind of like we can't you don't really see Travis Bickles anymore. You don't
Right.
really see...
Because people don't want to be confronted with hard things.
We were kind of like, we've been so high on superheroes for a while, we don't like our heroes to get their hands really dirty anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, actually, there was a great example that I think, unless we have more to say, I'm going to go out on this, is there was a video recently posted by, I don't remember the name of the channel, but there's a popular YouTube channel that kind of deconstructs and explores cinema from the past, and they did Schindler's List, and they opened it by like a minute of like... I understand this is hard. I understand it doesn't fit into certain like safe space mentalities. I know you're just going to turn this off. Please take the time to watch this. It's important. And that really bummed me out that you need to preface a movie that should be watched by fucking everyone, because you're not going to stop a Holocaust from happening unless you've in some way experienced the horror of that. And cinema is a great way to live vicariously and go, oh fuck, let's make, like, I'm going to die before I let this happen again. That's not going to happen if you don't expose yourself to it. And it made me so sad that they had to preface this video with like a minute and a half of please watch. I know it's hard. I know it's tough. And it's like, no, just don't hold their hand. Just fucking force people to see this shit.
Also, what I hate the fact is, like, it's our history, guys.
And it's our history.
Like, you remember the first time? I remember the first time, like, when you said, you know, it's a good way to live vicariously. I saw Life is Beautiful.
Okay.
And you watch that flick, and it lands home. You can identify with any one of those fucking characters in that movie very easily. Like, whether it's the mother who's losing her family, or the father who's like forced to, like, I'm the only thing this kid has in terms of hope right now, trying to hold it down. That fucking movie it stays with you. Like, and you need
and that's important.
You need to have that emotion of like, no, this happened.
Yeah.
This is real things. These are people. That actually lies. That's Roberto Benigni. Fucking pre-Oscar rampage.
Yeah.
You know, and Pinocchio telling a compelling story. There are real people in the dirt because of these atrocities, and if you don't acknowledge that, like, you
don't let yourself feel that, then the way you're gonna end up feeling it is when it happens to you for real.
Exactly. How can you have like any sense of, you know, responsibility as a person on this planet if you don't have any empathy for the people who suffered atrocities?
And you don't have the empathy for the people who suffered atrocities because you've shut yourself off from experiencing anything negative. And you know the easiest people to control are those people.
Yeah, smart enough to run the machines, but dumb enough to not question it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's sad that there's a lot of people in the world.
Said the two starving artists.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I would rather be a starving artist than Bob Parr in the first Incredibles movie at his fucking insurance job. That would be. I mean, like, I always think of it we have this blink of time and then we're dead. Maybe something happens after. Probably not. It's all we got. Why would I waste a single fucking second living someone else's dream or contributing to someone else's dream?
I agree.
I will never be the guy sitting in an office. I would rather die as a hobo than be the guy sitting in an office selling insurance.
All I can think of is Diedrich Bader from Office Space. It's fucking A-right, man.
Yeah,
fucking A.
I think that's a good note to go out on. You want to extra us?
Yeah, man. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you guys for listening. As always, tune in next week. What we got coming up? Anything else?
Well, we're going to do Sicario eventually, but we've also been saying we were going to do Barry for about a month now.
I think we got to stop telling people that's going to happen.
We got to stop telling people what we're going to do.
I don't have anything really to say. I love the performance. Let's do it right now.
Let's do 60-second Barry, yeah.
Seriously, I love the performances. I think the cast was insanely well done. Mm-hmm. I love the idea of a parable of someone who's been told what to do their whole life finally having an opportunity to express themselves.
The exploration of PTSD.
Yep. And the idea of, like, that one line nails it down to the head, like, your male, masculine, toxic bullshit. Like, in the way the climate is in Hollywood right now, you need someone to personify, like you said, get your hands dirty a little bit. Personify that character and show his flaws and his fucking weaknesses and be like...
And his positives, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Barry has the exact same... I had the exact same response to it as I did Swiss Army Man, in that the last scene kind of fucked up the series for me, because, as you were saying, it's all about toxic masculinity. It's all about showing that his love interest isn't just some two-dimensional love interest. She's a real person. Mm-hmm. And then the movie ends with her acting like she acted in his fantasies, like a year later, and then they Dexter it up by having him kill the cop that was pursuing him just to set up season 2, which would have felt more in place as the first scene of season 2. And that whole ending just all of a sudden is when they're they're at the bar. If you haven't seen Barry, none of this is going to make any fucking sense. So watch Barry. The final episode ends with the Barry and the girl at the bar. She's asking if he'd like to be her partner in a stage show, and it kind of does this slow pullback, fades to black, and then there's another 10 minutes. A year later, where they're off at like a cottage,
totally different too.
She's acting like just a two-dimensional, batty-eyed bimbo girlfriend. He's like, I'm all into the theater now, and he's acting weird. And then the cop figures out it's him, and he kills her, and then cut to credits.
I'm wondering,
complete setup for season 2.
I mean, I'm wondering if like maybe partway through production they got like, I don't know, how does it do it? Do they just make them all at once at HBO? They don't.
It depends.
They're not writing it as like, I know in like old like the X-Files, they'd be writing the end of the season as the first couple were airing.
I think it depends on the series, because I know Game of Thrones shoots all at once, so I'm assuming Barry would shoot all at once.
Right, like
since the whole thing's like 3 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
So I imagine for that, like, maybe at the last minute they're like, clip on this scene because
we know we're doing season 2.
We know we're doing season 2, but like I think it's really going to resonate whenever. It's an interesting. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I also felt that was really
very tacked on.
And it didn't match the tone of the rest of the series.
None of the characters are acting like the character, except for Fonzie, who was just adorable.
Because Henry Winkler's just adorable.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful man.
Yeah.
But at the very tail end of it, I'm wondering if they just have a good jumping off point in season 2, like if there's a compelling reason.
Well, I imagine now, because like the investigation, like
of who murdered that cop at a cottage where there's only 4 people,
and then the one guy who was a suspect in their last investigation. Yeah. That was another problem I had with it, was because you're going to have to portray law enforcement as fucking morons in season 2 if they don't figure out immediately that it was Barry that did it.
Exactly.
So I don't know. It's kind of weird. We'll see how season 2 goes. But
there you go. We did it.
We did Barry. and if you haven't seen Barry, you've already listened to this and spoiled the ending for you. But essentially, it's just about a hitman who goes to Los Angeles, wants to be an actor. That's it. And then the Russian mob wants to fucking...
You're forgetting the most important detail.
Double cross him.
Played by one of the most delightful human beings on
Bill
the face
Hader.
of
Bill lop-faced Hader. Yeah.
I fucking love Bill Hader.
Yeah, he's great.
The whole cast. Bill... I forget the name. I want to get her name right because she was great too. But Bill Hader's great. Henry Winkler again, just doing his hair, but actually not really doing, because when I think of him, I think of what's his face,
Arrested Development.
Yes,
Take to the Sea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like in this one, he's not goofy. He's very ground. Like the closest to goofy he gets is when he's talking to the cop, and he's kind of like,
yeah.
But otherwise, he's like a Yoda.
He's an acting teacher.
He's really good in that show.
He's doing the thing that people are having their careers destroyed over now. He's yelling and demeaning people to their face in order to get a better performance out of them.
Kubricky.
Exactly.
Right.
I think acting is going to suffer in this climate, because if you don't break people's egos down and make them feel like trash and then build them back up again, you're not going to get a performance out of them.
Sarah Goldberg, I liked her. I also liked, what's her name? She played the cop. What was her name?
She was from, I believe, unless I'm just racist, I'm pretty sure she's the girl from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Benjamin Sisko's girlfriend, or she's like her fucking twin. But then it's also been 20 years since Deep Space Nine, so she I don't know what she looks like now. She's the doctor in Orville. Was that the same actress, or was it two?
I never watched Orville.
Just 50-year-old black women who look identical. I'm pretty sure.
Jesus.
I'm pretty sure that it's the same character. It might not be, though. And in my defense, I confuse everybody. I'm horrible with my facial recognition software.
It's way out of whack.
Way out of whack. But I'm pretty, maybe not. But if you look up the girl from Barry, or I'm sorry, we're talking about Barry from the Orville. You're going to see they look exactly the same. Do it for yourself. Do it at home. Check it out.
It's not her, Strike. You're on your own here.
It's not her?
It's not her.
Ah, shit.
Oh, you're on your own.
Well, I've been outed.
And also, I just have to say, Stephen Root. I love Stephen Root.
Oh, yeah.
Stephen Root's
such a slime bag.
He's like in my top 5 favorite human beings of actors, I think, of all time, just because of his range.
Yeah.
The amount of, you look at that dude's filmography, it's insane.
He basically played the same role he did in True Blood, a guy tied to a chair.
So funny, dude. And just the way he can swing it around from, like, he has that ability to really bring a scene down to a halt and just make it all about him.
Yeah.
I'm a diehard news radio fan.
Yep.
And the number of times Mr. James steals the scene.
Oh, yeah.
Just by coming in with, like, a big positive version of Donald Trump, but just a big idiot. Like this idiot man boy billionaire playboy who's just like, I love shit. Let's make some stuff happen.
And the Russians were adorable.
Oh, NoHo Hank?
Yeah.
NoHo Hank is one of the most unique hitman characters. When he keeps sending him those little gifs of like so-and-so wants to see you, and it's like an uh-oh gif of himself.
Yeah, it's so adorable.
I love that guy.
All right, I think that's it.
Let's wind her down.
This is our second extra. You did the last one, so you already heard it. Thanks for listening, guys. Check us out on the website, and we'll see you next week with something.
Something or other.
Woo!